Hey everyone, I never thought I'd be confessing this, but here I am, heart pounding like about to shatter something fragile. My dad died suddenly when I was 18, just gone in one awful morning, and ever since then it's just been me and my mom. She raised me alone, working 2 jobs, her hands rough from the diner shifts, sacrificing everything so I could have a future. But lately, my heart aches every time I look at her, and it's not just grief anymore. There are these secret desires I can't shake, and am terrified of what they mean. I was just a regular guy fresh out of community college, still living at home in our cramped little apartment, job hunting every day while Mom came home exhausted from her shifts at the diner. The place felt even smaller after Dad's funeral, like the walls were closing in with all the quiet we didn't know how to fill. She'd cry quietly in the kitchen at night, soft sounds that broke me, and I'd sit there pretending not to notice. But the way she'd lean on me for comfort started stirring something deep inside that I knew was wrong. Every morning I'd wake up to the smell of coffee brewing and her lavender body lotion that she'd used since I was a kid, that gentle scent wrapping around the apartment like a memory I couldn't escape. One day she hugged me longer than usual after I got another rejection email from a job, her soft hair brushing my cheek, warm and familiar, her body pressed close in that tired, seeking way. For the first time I felt my body react in a way that made me pull away in shame, heat rushing through me so fast I could barely breathe. What the hell is wrong with me, I thought, my pulse hammering as I mumbled something about needing to check my phone. She didn't seem to notice, just smiled that weary smile and squeezed my hand before letting go, her fingers lingering a second to loll against mine. I told myself it was nothing, just the grief making everything feel too close, too raw. But that night, lying in bed, I couldn't stop replaying the way her warmth had seeped through her thin sweater, the faint lavender still clinging to my shirt. My mind kept drifting back to how she looked when she cried, vulnerable and beautiful in a way that twisted my stomach with guilt and something sharper, hungrier. The days blurred after that, ordinary and heavy. I'd help her with groceries, our shoulders brushing in the narrow kitchen aisle, or sit beside her on the old couch watching whatever was on TV just to fill the silence. Leaning her head back, and I'd catch myself staring at the curve of her neck, the way her hair fell loose after a long day. I hated it. This pull I couldn't name, this ache that grew every time she said, "You're all I have now, sweetheart." Her voice soft and trusting. One evening after another dead-end interview, she came home and collapsed onto the couch next to me, her thigh accidentally pressing against mine as she stretched out her tired legs. The contact sent a spark through me, electric and forbidden, and I froze, pretending to focus on the screen while my heart raced. She was so close I could feel the heat of her skin through the fabric of her work pants, smell that lavender mixed with the faint diner scent of coffee and grease. I wanted to move away, but I didn't. Instead, I sat there, breathing shallow, caught between the urge to comfort her and this terrifying craving I couldn't admit even to myself. She turned to me then, eyes tired but warm, and rested her hand on my arm. "I don't know what I'd do without you," she whispered, her breath warm against my shoulder. In that moment the air felt thicker, heavier with everything unsaid, and I felt myself falling, pulled by a gravity I knew was dangerous. My mind screamed to stop, to remember she was my mom, the one who'd held me through every scraped knee and nightmare. But my body, it betrayed me with a slow, aching hunger that made my chest tight. I pulled back slightly, mumbling about dinner, but the damage was done. That night I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, the memory of her touch burning like a secret I couldn't bury. How much longer could I pretend this was just missing Dad? How long before the almost moments turned into something I couldn't take back? Nights settled into a rhythm I both craved and dreaded. She'd come home after the late shift at the diner, kick off her sensible flats with a tired little groan, and sink onto the couch right beside me while some old rerun flickered across the screen. The cushions dipped under her weight, pulling me a fraction closer. Her thigh would brush mine as she stretched her legs out, that accidental warmth seeping through thin fabric, and I'd sit perfectly still, pretending the laughed rack held my attention. "You're all I have left, honey," she murmured one night, voice soft as worn flannel, her head tilting toward my shoulder. The words landed like a stone in still water, sending ripples of protectiveness and something far darker through my chest. I wanted to wrap an arm around her, shield her from the empty quiet of the apartment. Instead, my pulse kicked up, heat pooling low and unwelcome. I hated how my body noticed every small shift of hers, the faint give of muscle when she sighed again. I kept reminding myself who she was, the same woman who once stayed up all night pressing cool cloths to my forehead when fever spiked. The one who scraped together rent after Dad was gone, smiling through exhaustion so I wouldn't worry. She trusted me completely, leaned on me like I was still that little boy who needed her more than she needed anyone. Yet when her hand rested lightly on my knee during a commercial break, innocent and seeking comfort, my mind twisted it into something I couldn't voice. "Shess, your mother. Stop." Still the encounters kept happening. Another evening she curled up closer during a storm, rain lashing the windows while lightning painted her face in quick silver flashes. Her breathing slowed, almost assisting with mine, warm and steady against my side. I could smell the diner grease clinging faintly to her sweater mixed with that lavender that never quite washed out. My throat tightened. I told myself to shift away, create space, remember boundaries. But my arm stayed where it was, inches from hers, the almost touch louder than any thunder outside. Then came the rainy Thursday that changed the air between us. She walked in soaked, shoulders slumped from another double shift, and dropped onto the couch with a wince. "My back is killing me tonight," she said quietly, rolling her neck. Without thinking, I offered, "Want me to rub your shoulders?" The words left my mouth before I could reel them back. She hesitated only a second, then nodded, turning so her back faced me, pulling the collar of her blouse down just enough to bear the curve of her neck and upper back. My hands settled on her skin, warm from the long day. Tension knotted tight beneath my palms. I worked slowly, thumbs pressing into the sore spots, feeling the tightness gradually ease under my touch. She let out a soft breath of relief, almost a sigh that trembled at the edges, and the sound traveled straight through me like a live wire. Fingers tracing the slope of her shoulders, drifting a little lower along the line of her spine where the blouse had shifted. Neither of us spoke. The rain drummed harder on the roof, filling the silence while my heart hammered against my ribs. Her skin was so warm, so familiar yet suddenly electric. I swallowed hard, screaming that this was crossing into territory we could never uncross. She was the one who taught me right from wrong, who sacrificed everything so I could have a chance. And here I was, breath shallow, fighting the pull to let my hands explore further, to chase the quiet surrender in her posture. Guilt clawed at me, even as the ache deepened, a slow-burning hunger I couldn't name without shame flooding hot behind my eyes. When I finally pulled my hands away, the absence felt heavier than the touch. She stayed seated, back still toward me, breathing a little uneven. I waited for her to say something, anything that would snap the moment back to normal. But she only reached back and gave my wrist a gentle squeeze, her fingers warm and lingering. The air between us felt charged, thick with everything we weren't saying, and I realized with a sick lurch in my stomach that the line had already started to blur. How much further would we drift before one of us admitted what was really happening? The next few nights I caught myself watching her more closely, noticing the way she moved when she thought I wasn't looking, the tired grace in her steps. Part of me wanted to run from the apartment and never come back. The other part ached to be near her again, to feel that dangerous warmth and tell myself it was only comfort. I didn't know which voice would win, only that the pull was growing stronger every time she looked at me with those trusting eyes. And then one quiet moment she turned, her gaze meeting mine across the dim room, something unspoken flickering there that made my breath catch completely. I couldn't stop replaying that look she gave me, the one that lingered a second too long in the half-light of the living room. Every shower after that became a battlefield. Hot water cascaded over my shoulders while her voice echoed in my head, soft and tired, the way she'd said my name when my hands were on her back. I pictured the thin fabric of her nightgown, how it had shifted against her skin, clinging just enough to hint at the warmth beneath. She's been so lonely since Dad left us, I thought, heart twisting. She needs someone steady, someone who knows every crack in her heart, but it can't be me. It can't. The shame burned hotter than the steam, yet my body betrayed me with a deep, aching pull that left me breathless against the tiles. Days blurred into excuses. I'd linger in the kitchen while she cooked, standing closer than necessary so our arms brushed when she reached for a spoon. "Let me help with the dishes," it'd murmur, and shed smile, that grateful smile that made my chest tighten. Evenings on the couch became our quiet ritual. She'd sink into the cushions after work, and I'd sit beside her, offering a hug that started innocent but deepened into something heavier. Her head would rest against my chest, hair tickling my neck, carrying that faint lavender scent mixed with the day's exhaustion. My hands stroked slow circles along her back, feeling the rise and fall of her breathing sync with mine. She called me her rock one night, voice muffled against my shirt. I was supposed to be her son, her safe place, not the one she leaned into like this, body relaxing fully into mine as if I could hold all her broken pieces. The guilt gnawed at me constantly, a sharp whisper in the back of my mind during daylight hours. How could I crave this? She raised me alone, scraping by after the funeral, putting her own grief on hold so I would let drown in it. Yet every time she looked at me with those tired eyes full of quiet trust, the hunger surged stronger, like gravity pulling me closer no matter how hard I fought. I told myself it was just comfort, just easing the emptiness that had swallowed our home since Dad's sudden passing, but the way her warmth seeped through her clothes into my skin, the soft tremor in her sigh when my fingers pressed a little firmer, it felt like drowning in something I wasn't allowed to want. One anniversary evening, she poured herself a small glass of wine to dull the ache of another year without him. The TV flickered with some old reel, and neither of us was really watching, its glow casting soft shadows across the room. She sat closer than usual, knees brushing mine under the throw blanket. Her cheeks had a faint flush from the wine, and when she turned to me, her eyes glistened with unshed tears. I miss feeling close to someone," she whispered, voice cracking like thin ice. My heart hammered as she leaned in, pressing a kiss to my cheek, then hesitating, breath warm and wine scented against my skin. The almost moment stretched, electric and terrifying. Her lips brushed my next, tentative at first, then deepening with a quiet desperation that mirrored my own hidden craving. We didn't speak after that. The couch creaked softly under our shifting weight as the boundary shattered completely, her familiar nightgown fabric soft and worn against me, carrying years of shared laundry days and late-night worries. Her scent enveloped me, lavender and home and something achingly new, while her hands clutched at my shoulders like I was the only anchor left in her storm. In that suspended breath, everything changed. No going back, no pretending this was still innocent. The surrender washed over us both, heavy with relief and ruin, her quiet murmurs of needing to feel loved again echoing in my ears like a confession I could never unhear. Yet even as the heat of it consumed the space between us, a fresh wave of doubt crashed in what had we just unlocked that could never be locked away again. Weeks later, one quiet night when the house felt too still, she fell asleep curled against me, her breathing slow and even like it used to be when I was little, and she'd check on me after bad dreams. My arm had gone numb under her weight, but I didn't move, afraid to break the fragile peace. Her phone lay on the nightstand, screen still glowing faintly from the alarm she'd set for morning. Without thinking, I reached for it, just to dim the light, and there it was. An old photo of her and Dad, smiling on some beach vacation years ago, his arm around her shoulders the way mine had been only minutes earlier. The guilt slammed into me so hard I forgot how to breathe. She looked so young in that picture, eyes bright with a happiness I hadn't seen in her since the accident took him. Now that same softness rested on my chest, trusting, content for the first time since the funeral. Was I healing the wound or just painting over it with something wrong? Replacing the man who should have been there, stealing the space he left behind in the worst way possible. She stirred a little, murmuring in her sleep how happy she felt lately, how the emptiness didn't swallow her whole anymore. Her words landed like stones in still water, rippling through the ache already building in my throat. I held her closer, inhaling that faint lavender from her skin mixed with the warm cotton of her nightgown, but the comfort tasted bitter now. Every gentle rise of her chest against mine reminded me I wasn't supposed to be the one making her feel this way. I was the boy she raised alone, working double shifts so I could eat decent meals while she skipped them. The one she comforted through nightmares, not the one creating new ones in the dark. Yet when her hand unconsciously tightened on my shirt, pulling me nearer even in dreams, the old hunger flared anyway, twisting with shame until I couldn't tell where one ended and the other began. Days blurred after that into a constant war inside my head. It'd wake up intending to stop, to put distance between us like a good son should, maybe even confess everything and beg her forgiveness before running far enough that temptation couldn't follow. But then she'd come home from work looking drained, shoulders slumped under the weight of another lonely day, and the thought of leaving her to face those evenings alone again it physically hurt. The way she'd seek me out for those quiet hugs, her body relaxing into mine with a sigh that carried years of unspoken need, made my resolve crumble every single time. The pleasure of holding her was real, warm and grounding in a house that had felt hollow for too long. The comfort we gave each other filled cracks I didn't even know were still there. But the shame never left, hovering like a storm cloud that followed me into daylight, turning ordinary moments sour. I'd catch myself staring at the family photos still on the wall, Dad's face watching us, and wonder if he'd see a monster in the boy he once tossed in the air laughing. Even now I wrestle with it every hour. Part of me craves the surrender, the way her presence quiets the noise in my chest when nothing else can. Another part screams that this is betrayal dressed up as love, that I'm feeding off her vulnerability instead of protecting it like I owe her. The line between helping her heal and using her loneliness blurs more each night, leaving me breathless with doubt when the lights go out and old reruns flicker in the background like silent witnesses. I don't know how to untangle it without breaking what little we have left. Confessing might destroy the fragile peace Jess finally found. Staying might poison us both slowly, turning comfort into something we can never come back from clean. Am I a monster for feeling this way about the woman who raised me alone through every hard year after Dad's sudden death? Or is it just the messy, human fallout after losing too much too soon, to broken people reaching for the only warmth left in the room? What would you do if you were in my place, heart torn between the ache of desire and the weight of everything we've survived together? Drop your thoughts below. I might share more about what happened next if enough of you want to hear the rest. But honestly, I don't know if it'll ever feel normal again. Some doors, once opened, leave you standing on the threshold forever, wondering if stepping through was salvation or the beginning of a different kind of drowning.